What is up, everybody, and welcome to CTW Postgame Show Live. I'm your host, Seamus Zarlingo, and tonight, folks, the Boston Celtics, we're gonna cue the music this time. Here we go. We'll take care of the music this time around. First game, not so much. Not so much there. Not so much. But tonight, there goes the music. No 3 minutes of music tonight. But unfortunately, the Boston Celtics, as we look at the bottom of the screen here, fall to the New York Knicks 105-95 on the NBA's first ever telecasted game on Amazon Prime Video. The first game ever between the Celtics and the Knicks. Maybe, who knows, TNT with their long run, ESPN their long run. Who knows how long the run will be with Amazon. But tonight was the first game on Amazon. It was played between the Knicks and the Celtics. And unfortunately, the Celtics do not see a positive result tonight at MSG, falling to the New York Knicks 105-95. The Celtics now fall to 0-2 on the season. Unfortunately, losing to Philadelphia the other night at the TD Garden in their season opener. We're going to wait here. Griffin Aldrich and Andrew Quinn are going to be joining me on the broadcast here in a little bit, but I'm going to start things off with initial thoughts here because this Celtic team, I think tonight, unfortunately, and we'll talk more about this later with Griffin and Andrew when it comes to this specific topic, but an initial thought that comes to mind tonight when I see this game, the result says one thing, right? You know, it's a 10-point game at the end. It really doesn't tell the entirety of the story of the game. But I just felt like this was a statement game for the Knicks and the Celtics, for better or for worse. And the Knicks, I thought it was a statement game because they came in and they essentially did the exact same thing to the Celtics in which the Celtics did to them on opening night last year. Now, it wasn't a three-point barrage. The Knicks didn't go off and set any three-point records, but the Knicks just handled the Celtics, just dominated the Celtics throughout the night. And that's what we saw from the Celtics last year in the regular season against the Knicks. Now we're seeing it, unfortunately, from the Knicks playing the Celtics now at MSG this season. And I hate to say it, you know, it's only the second game of the season, but this might be the expected result out of this team for the rest of the year. Not necessarily saying it's the expected result, you know, the Celtics and the Knicks expected result, but the expected results of these two teams. The Knicks looked like a cohesive unit that was firing on all cylinders. Meanwhile, the Celtics just looked discombobulated. They looked at times like they weren't together, specifically on the offensive end of the floor. And then defensively, I mean, it is a massive, massive step down right now for the Celtics this year from where they were at the last two seasons, specifically with that championship team. We all know that was one of the better defensive teams, even of all time. We talked about the best defensive backcourt of all time between Holiday and Derek White. Right now, when Hugo Gonzalez, when you're asking him to guard up on Jalen Brunson in crunch time, that's a far cry from Drew Holiday and Derek White, unfortunately, for the Celtics. But tonight, the Celtics, I believe when it comes to their statement, right, the Knicks made a good statement for their team tonight in their season. The Celtics, I think they made a clear negative statement for where this team might end up this season. I think a lot of us in Celtic Nation owned some optimism for this team coming in that, yes, this team was not going to be anywhere near the last 4 years, right? I mean, where the team is competing for a championship. But there was some optimism surrounding this team that maybe this team could maybe make their way up the standings in the East, considering the lack of competition and some of the tangible pieces still within the rotation, right? Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, right? Specifically those guys. And you still have Joe Mazzulla as your head coach if you're the Celtics. Tonight, and really the first two games, right? Because the first two games, first one against Philadelphia, the Celtics, we really, on this post-game show, we really should have laid into the Celtics a lot more than we did. The Celtics should have won that game on Wednesday night. They absolutely fumbled it at the end. If you look at the win probability throughout the game, the Celtics are the favorites nearly the entire night. Nearly the entire night. And then you see this just wave going down towards the Philadelphia 76ers the other night. The Celtics lose that game in the final waning moments, as we all know. Tonight, I mean, it was nothing like that, right? Philadelphia and Boston, they might be on the same plane of competition. Tonight, the Knicks just absolutely blew the Celtics out of the water. And it was shown by some of the numbers in transition, the fast break points, the second chance points tonight. The Knicks dominated in all of those categories. And at the end of the night, the shot discrepancy, it shows that the Knicks and the Celtics, they took the same amount of shots, but throughout the night, the Knicks simply were taking more shots than the Celtics simply because of their opportunities in which they were gaining on the defensive end of the floor, causing the Celtics to turn the ball over, and then offensively going down and converting not only in their transition opportunities, but also off of offensive rebounds. Offensive rebounding for the Celtics has been I should say defensive rebounding for the Celtics has been absolutely horrendous up to this point in time. And we talked about it during our preseason broadcast. This rebounding in preseason, the numbers looked good, right? We came on here, the numbers look good, but the actual film didn't look great. And again, the numbers at the end of a game they don't always tell the entirety of the story of a game. The numbers at the end, it really the shot total in this game, the rebounding total in this game doesn't quite indicate how dominant of a performance this actually was for the New York Knicks tonight against the Celtics. And the Celtics, yes, they fought their way back into this one, and that is ultimately the fight I want to see out of this team, right? I don't want to see this team roll over. That's never been what the Celtics are about at any point. Where you go back to the Isaiah days, go back to the Big Three era, you can go through multiple eras of Celtics basketball. The Celtics never roll over, right? And if there's a silver lining to take from this game tonight, the Celtics never rolled over. It felt like down the stretch, here come the Celtics, right? And it felt like the Celtics were actually going to get back into this game, but it just wasn't enough. Okay, when you're outscored 42-14 in the second quarter, that's too big of a hole you're digging for yourself. And that's what the Celtics did tonight, because otherwise, if you look at the entirety of the game, the Celtics actually won 3 of the 4 quarters. They won the first quarter 30 to 20, 30 to 22, I believe, right? They won the fourth quarter 30 to 23, and then they won the third quarter, I believe it was 21 to 18, as I get the numbers up here in front of me and down below. But that second quarter, right? The Celtics, they let the rope go completely. It's a 42-14 run for the Knicks. That's the game, because otherwise the Celtics win the first quarter by 8. They win the third quarter by 3. They win the fourth quarter by 7. I mean, those are real margins, right? When you're winning a quarter by 8, 7, 3 is a smaller margin, but specifically those others. And then you give up a quarter where you're outscored by 28 points. I mean, that's the discrepancy in this game, and it all happened in that second quarter. And we'll actually, this is, I guess, is a perfect transition into the lead tracker tonight. We'll look at it again when Griffin and Andrew come into the broadcast here, when they enter the broadcast. But here's the lead tracker tonight, folks. That not quite the sea of green tonight. Not quite the sea of green. The sea of blue. I mean, that's the normal color of water you're seeing tonight out of the New York Knicks, establishing that lead in the second quarter, going towards halftime, and then eventually putting it up there in the third. The thing about the third is, though, the Celtics, they fought their way back into the quarter actually well, right? You see that mountaintop that's shaved down for the New York Knicks. And then eventually the Celtics, look, they just ran out of time. I really do feel like the Celtics, they had more time. They could have came back in this game, but it's a 48-minute basketball game. The Celtics dug themselves a hole way too late there into the second quarter. And you see that avalanche right before half. I mean, we talk about taking care of the end of quarters, taking care of the end of halves. The Celtics didn't do that in any manner whatsoever near the end of the second quarter tonight. I mean, it was just a bludgeoning. It was an absolute bludgeoning from every aspect of this game. As we come back to myself here, some of the numbers to run through these. I mentioned the rebounding number is not indicative. It very much was indicative of the dominant performance of the Knicks tonight, because the rebounding numbers 65-43 in favor of the Knicks tonight. Hold up, folks. We got. Oh, hold up. We got people coming into the broadcast. All right. Well, we're gonna transition them here. I'm gonna run through these rebounding numbers as we transition our guys in here. And first of all, Andrew, can I get a thumbs up? Can I get a thumbs up? And yeah, let's add it first as we're waiting.
What's up, Seamus? What's up?
We're still awaiting on Griffin. However, welcome to the broadcast, Andrew Quinn.
Thank you for.
I was just talking about rebounding tonight. I've given my initial thoughts here.
I'll get into rebounding. That's fine.
The rebounding was utterly putrid. I mean, the Celtics. I think I just mentioned. Okay, so the rebounding battle tonight, real quick, before we get your initial thoughts here. 29 defensive rebounds for the Celtics. As for the Knicks, 32. But it's really the offensive rebounding I'm looking at. Offensive rebounding tonight. The New York Knicks, they grabbed 21 offensive rebounds. The Celtics, The Celtics grabbed 8 offensive rebounds tonight. And then
It's
you go and look at the
ridiculous.
second chance points and the rebounding discrepancy in total, 65 to 43. So a 22 rebound discrepancy there. But then the second chance points, 21 to 7 in favor of the Knicks tonight. And of course, fast break points, talked about that earlier, 15 to 2 in favor of the Knicks. So those are some of the awful, no good numbers for the Celtics tonight. But Andrew, welcome to the broadcast here. Unfortunate night of events for the Celtics, but we might be talking about this throughout the season. We might be talking in this way quite a few times.
It's not going to be as fun as past seasons with the win totals racking up. Like there's going to be some post games where we come on where we just got to suck it up and still talk Celtics despite the loss. But today's game was super frustrating for sure. I think I just want to continue to hammer down the rebounding. That's ridiculous. I mean, 13 extra opportunities to have the ball on offense. I mean, of course you're gonna lose, right? Like that's just a given. And with an NBA caliber team like the Knicks, who can knock down shots, who are capable of really, really filling in the stat sheet, like that's just unacceptable. And I think I am going to be talking very high on this, and this is going to be a point of emphasis on these talks is our margin for error. Our margin for error is very, very slim. I mean, we have to win every single category that may not be fancy, may not be something that fans are looking at, but we have to win those categories. I mean, diving on loose balls, taking care of the ball. I think that was something that I was shocked with, our just communication when passing the ball. There was a lot of passes where we don't know where our guys are going to be at. We just don't have that chemistry right now as a Celtics team. It just feels very discombobulated. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of connection that we see on the court. And that's a problem, but it's also because this is a new team, right? I mean, we're only in game 2, but we definitely need to find a way to really come together and work together as a team offensively and just win those small margins. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, the margins for me, talk about the small margins. What about just every margin? I think right now,
yeah, I mean,
the Celtics
sure.
The Celtics. We need to win the small margins, but the Celtics, they can't even really play a complete game of basketball, and that's what is concerning. And I say concerning, but it's concerning in the sense of, okay, how much does this team actually have when it comes to their personnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because from another perspective, right? It's, well, this is the second game of the season. Guys are young. Guys are still developing, right? On this roster specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And even not as players, but as a team in its entirety. But so far through the first 8 quarters, the basketball has not been complete, right? I'm just defensively now, and I feel like I can pick on this team all day, and I almost feel like it's a little unfair knowing the circumstances, but at the same time, I mean, it's just the standard of winning and doing a good job on the basketball
and being
floor.
A Celtics team. I mean,
exactly. I talked about it before he came in here. It's no Celtic team rolls over, and there's definitely a certain standard to the Boston Celtics. But defensively, for example, right, Hugo Gonzalez played a pretty big role tonight at different times as Griffin. Can we get a thumbs up here? Can we get a thumbs up, Griffin, in the back?
Oh, perfect.
All right, we got Griff. Oh, okay. We smooth transition in. All right, nice. Griffin, welcome to the program. Wi-Fi, all good?
Wi-Fi is doing good now. Wi-Fi is doing good.
That's great. That's great to hear. What was I just talking about? The Knicks, and Griffin. You distract me. You're like the king of distractions here. Everybody.
How'd the Wi-Fi go down? You don't have tornadoes up in. You don't have the hurricane tornadoes.
You guys had some severe weather a couple weeks ago.
We did have some bad weather, actually. Yeah.
I was watching from afar. I'm like, man, you guys are.
People's Wi-Fi went down and all that, so it gets real up in here in Maine too, weather-wise. But sorry to get off topic.
No,
you're talking about the Knicks and how the Celtics.
But talking about Hugo
And
Gonzalez real quick. Well, and we'll talk about Hugo in a little bit here in depth, but just Gonzalez, his minute total tonight. So Gonzalez played 22:36. That's a pretty good amount of minutes for Hugo Gonzalez, the rookie, the 19-year-old rookie playing against a team who just made the Eastern Conference Finals last year in the Knicks. And that is what I look at is Hugo Gonzalez is playing a legitimate role on this team, played 22 minutes tonight. And there are times where we're asking him to guard Jalen Brunson. There are times where he's one of our more versatile defenders. So I mean he can kind of hop around the floor, defend anybody, but he's 19 years old. He's 19 years old and he's defending these NBA veterans who are well seasoned into their career. And I look at something like that and go, well, I have a lot of faith in Hugo Gonzalez working out in the long run. He did a lot of great things tonight, but when it comes to this current moment against this current team, the Knicks and the Celtics, and where Gonzalez is at in his NBA career, it's almost not a fair fight, right? It's a 19-year-old versus a bunch of 26, 27, 28-year-olds, if not in their 30s. And yes, there's going to be some athleticism there, but it's about up here. It's the IQ, the knowledge, where to be on the floor, the trust, and also just the repetitions over time. I mean, the Knicks certainly have that over the Celtics at times all of a sudden. I mean, last year you thought about all the veteran presence on that team. Now that veteran presence, there's a lot of young guys out there for the C's. But Griffin, welcome to the broadcast here tonight. Wi-Fi, can we hear you? Can we hear you? Wi-Fi all good? So. No weather up there. But Griffin, what are your initial thoughts on tonight's game at MSG?
Well, I have to say, like, I think it's because I'm like, we are apartment complex in Maine, so it's like right on the same one as a police station. So who knows?
Now don't give out too much information. Like I live in an apartment complex next to the police station, next to the water, next to the gas station.
You could break this down.
Oh, all right. We don't have to get into that details. All right, we don't have to get into that details. But no, initially, I was very impressed in the first quarter. However, like they just went down, they plummeted, and I just said like the biggest thing is their chemistry is not there. They're making silly shots that shouldn't happen. They're putting, and I feel like Joe Mazzulla was kind of confused at times with the matchup. Like, for example, Jordan Walsh went in there for 2 minutes and he's like, all right, we do not need you. He got him right out of there. But it's almost like, we kind of forgot how to play basketball in a sense. And I hate to say that, but it's just, we're not comfortable with guys. We don't have that trust in each other. And I think that's going to build over time. And I mentioned that in the first post-game show, the chemistry, it takes a while to build. However, the chemistry is not there at all. And, you could clearly see the players who have played together. And, I've really, and I want to mention this, I really like Tillman's play, for example. I put down in my notes that, it looks like he's came back from the finals back in 2024. It looks like that's the version of Tillman that we have. But it just really shows out there, the guys who have played together, you can tell they play together. And there's a lot of new guys in there that do not get the rhythm and they're kind of lost out there. And it's basketball that I hate to see because I like this comment and I'm going to pull it back up. It is sloppy basketball. And that's the tough part. It's sloppy basketball. They're not comfortable with each other. And, you just have to look at it from a mentality that you want to go in there and you want to defend your teammate and play for your teammate. And it looks like they're not doing that at times. However, I like the tempo that they had at the beginning of the game. At the beginning of the game, they looked very good. But they need to stay with that for 4 quarters and they need to continue to have trust in one another. And I think that's the thing. I think it's lack of trust. And I don't know. I'm not in the Celtics locker room. I don't know how the mentality is, but I think ultimately they're going to want to win. This is an organization that whenever you play, you're going to want to win. Seamus?
Keep going, man. Keep going. I'm looking at the ticker because, okay, for some reason when people come in and out, like we're transitioning people, like the whole, Andrew, you saw it, the whole thing went, and it's like you got to piece together the show.
Yeah, it's a puzzle for sure.
No, but ultimately,
when you're with people, though,
when you're playing for the Boston Celtics, your mentality is high because you're playing for one of the most the most winning organization in NBA history. So your mentality is high and guys are going to play at a standard. However, and that's why I saw in the first quarter, however, they just looked all apart. And I believe that will come with time. And I believe the chemistry will click and these guys will start to click. And halfway through the season, we're going to look back at this and be like, all right, it was a rough part of the season. They were building chemistry. And now we have this product. But right now we have a sloppy product that we need to piece together and build chemistry first.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys believe that this was a statement by either team tonight? I mean, obviously the Knicks make a little bit of a statement there and going up 20 and dominating the game, but for better or for worse, right? The Knicks as the better team, the Celtics as the worst team. Was this a little bit of a statement game? Was this a little bit of an indication that told us where these two teams might be heading? I mean, obviously the win totals, everything's going to tell us that, but tonight's game, when we actually see it on court, did it really symbolize that?
Can I go first on this one? I'm gonna say no, because I believe this Knicks team has it more put together. They had guys like Cat, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, who all played together last year, and they have a thing going. They have an identity established. Obviously transitioning a new head coach in there is tough to kind of work in, but they play together. They have chemistry. You have new guys on the team, but those new guys aren't doing what Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson did tonight together. But for the Boston Celtics, it's a lot of new guys. It's a guy like Anthony Simons, who's supposed to take most of the scoring load off of guys. It's guys like, for example, Chris Boucher, who you're having slotted in there. It's guys like Neemias Queta, who's getting a lot more significant minutes. So that's the thing that chemistry has to build. And that's why I'm going to say no, because I believe that this is just a little rough patch that the Celtics are going to be in for now. However, I see them being better over time and getting more experience and chemistry built up.
Look, I don't want to say this, but in some ways, I think it is. I think that the Knicks have the core. They've kept this core together that they went out and sought after and spent money on to create a team that can perform deep into the playoffs. And much like the Celtics, year two with all these guys together, there seems to be a potential for like a jump, right? And so I wouldn't doubt that the Knicks are right now. I think they're better, and I think they could be better at the end of the season, because to me the Celtics roster, I think Seamus touched upon it earlier. Like, I just don't know if our depth. I just don't know if this roster is actually talented enough to compete with the Knicks from 1 to 16 on the roster. Like, that's how I see it. Like, I just think that like I like Chris Boucher. Like, I think he's a really good player. I think he's a good piece. But when you match him up against another player on the other team, like, is he really that, is there really, can you have that much confidence in him to really like dominate? Like, I don't know. I don't know if the roster is talented enough to really compete against the Knicks like continuously. And I could be wrong. And Simons, I think, is really talented. I think Mazzulla and the Celtics have to find a way to better utilize him. And I think he could really unlock some talent, some scoring in us that could really propel us. But I don't know. There is a fear in me that this Celtics team is just quite possibly not where we want it to be talent-wise. And we just in the offseason just didn't do enough to get that talent.
And I think you make a great point there, Andrew, about how these two teams are built, because last year, I don't remember which opponent, which game it was last year. There were so many of them, but I remember making the same point about last year's team and how they were built to win a championship against some other squads who weren't. And that's essentially where we're at on the opposite end, right? The Knicks are built to win a championship. They're built to win now. They're built to spin now. I mean, just look at the payrolls of the teams. And I want to add this in. Jason Tatum, if you really take out his salary within the payroll and calculate how expensive each team is, I mean, the Knicks are a lot more expensive than the Celtics when it comes to every single player on their roster. I mean, they're simply paying for better players at this point in time. And I think that showed tonight, really. I tend to agree with you as well, Griffin, where I look at the situation and go, this looks like it can get better because there's a lot wrong right now. There's a lot wrong. It looks like it can get better. And we have to, again, remind ourselves basketball, it's a game of togetherness, right? And when you've only been in the same building for a couple weeks, which these guys, it's been literally a couple weeks for them right now, 3 weeks, there needs to be more time. There needs to be more repetitions in order for them to actually go and achieve their real potential. And we know this team has been together for 3 weeks, opposed to say last year's team who was together for at least an entire championship year.
It also takes time just to like for these players to like adjust to the fact that, man, this could be quite possibly a harder, more difficult, more mentally taxing season. You know, like we've had these luxuries of just, you know, going into games like being the
Like
upper hand,
just
knowing that
execute
we're
and
gonna
you'll win.
But
Execute and
these
you'll win.
games
Play
are
your
a lot
best
more
and you'll win. That was always
play
the
your best and you'll
slogan.
win. But these games you're going into it like, man, I don't know. Like there's a little more doubt that may creep in these games, and just getting used to the fact that, man, we had this core that was just so fun to be a part of. It's almost like life is changing for these guys in a sense, you know? Like that takes a lot to adjust to.
Yeah, and that's where I look at Griffin, your statement, Griffin. I still think the team can achieve a better result in time, specifically in this spot. But I still look at the game and go, the Knicks are just so clearly better than the Celtics right now, and that pains me to say, obviously on this broadcast. But it's just objectively true. I mean, that's what we watched out there tonight. We watched a Knicks team that was utterly dominant on defense. On offense, they had. I mean, this is kind of the balance of the team. On offense, they knew Jalen Brunson's our guy. We know we're going to Cat on these opportunities. They knew the flow of their offense. The Celtics on offense, I mean, game one, the defense was the problem, right? The offense was okay at times in game one. Tonight, the offense was utterly putrid, 95 points. And near the end of the game, I mean, I think the possession that symbolized the game for the Celtics was one of the last possessions in the game. And I want to say it came maybe inside of a minute, maybe inside 2 minutes. It was within the last 2 minutes of the game at least. But the Celtics, they had it within, I don't remember what the exact margin was, but it was around 9, 10. You know, the Celtics were hovering around that mark. And then Jaylen Brown goes, and for some reason, Jaylen Brown, his mind just works faster than his body, right? He wants to go, right? He always wants to go, but then for some reason his handle just doesn't want to go at the same time. And he goes and he drives almost half, like if you look at the key, he drives almost to the free throw line. And then he almost pushes everyone back with him, right? The entire defense goes, whoop, we're because he's driving into him. And then he looks to the wing, and White, it was either White or Pritchard on the wing. They go and they're almost flashing to the corner. They're almost flashing to the bucket. And they're another one that starts sinking in. And then Brown looks back and throws a pass into the first row. I mean, that right there is Brown not really knowing exactly what he's about to do with the possession. Nobody else on the team really knowing what he's going to do with the possession. And then it ending in utter disaster when Brown throws it out of bounds because he thought Derek White was going to be right there, but then Derek White isn't actually right there. Now, some of the details it might be loosey-goosey with who was exactly involved, but it was within the last 2 minutes of the game. Jaylen Brown goes and drives and throws the ball out of bounds. But that was what the offense looked like tonight. It looked like Jaylen Brown, he's trying to put his shoulder in here, trying to get something there. Did not look rhythmic whatsoever, did not look within the flow of the offense. And it was just kind of, can I get something? I'm just going to pass out to the. It looked very last year. I always picked on the Washington Wizards, right? Where they didn't really have a hierarchy within their offense. And it almost felt like they were just trying things, right? Offenses that try things, offenses that aren't together, guys who are individuals playing within an offense who are not necessarily all playing as a cohesive unit. That's what the Celtics seem like right now, especially when Jaylen Brown has the ball in his hands. I mean, on offense, it's not exactly the Tatum experience on the offensive end of the floor where Brown's just picking apart the defense. It's very much Brown, it looks like he's trying to bully these guys, but he's not exactly bullying these guys. He's not getting where he wants to go, and he's coming up with the result he doesn't want. He's either coming up with
It's
a bad
like-
shot or he's coming up with a bad pass.
It's
Like,
more
that's-
reactive than like preemptive. You know what I mean?
Right. 100%.
or-
That is the
yeah.
phrase to use.
Yeah.
The reactivity of his possessions.
Yeah.
It's not a strategized, calculated drive.
I'm gonna put my shoulder down. And I'm gonna try to get
maybe I'm
mine.
gonna try this.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try this.
And that's where there's a difference, you know.
And this is where I want to kind of add in. It's more so the players that have been on the team are trying to take over the game like Jason Tatum could do in the past. Like, and I want to mention this because there was a possession that I remember too, Seamus. So I liked you saying this, but there was a possession where Derek White had a guy all up in his face. And instead of, passing it, bringing the shot clock down, he went up with the shot and had a terrible look. And it's like, I don't think there's trust in one another to pass the ball because I feel it's a lack of playing together, and it's just it baffles me when I'm watching it because it's like everyone is trying to, it's more so like the Brooklyn era with, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Derek White and Jaylen Brown are trying to put up numbers, and it's not like that completely but
I mean, Brooklyn
can't have those guys take shots like that. And you look at it. Sorry, Seamus. I gotta refocus with this. But you have to look at it from this perspective. It needs to be more team basketball. There has to be trust in one another. And that's where I'm at the point where it's like, it's just bad shots. It's bad offense. It's tough. It's tough to watch. It hurts me to watch it because there are so many possessions. And we were talking about this last post-game show. Remember when Peyton Pritchard had the ball and there were 3 other guys open and he could have passed? It's just lack of trust, I feel like, at this point. And correct me if I'm wrong. What do you guys think?
No, I agree.
Well,
It is lack of
let's
trust.
get on the conversation of Pritchard as well. And let's go on a conversation tangent when it comes to the Celtics offense, Pritchard and Brown, because I want to talk about specifically all 3 of those components to this team. Pritchard and Brown, they're bucket getters, I understand, but are they efficient offensive leaders and playmakers? I don't see it.
No, I don't.
I really they look very individualistic out there to me. And they don't necessarily, and the word trust is so big. It doesn't look like, oh yeah, they just trust Gonzalez in the corner. Well, there's no trust on this team right now. It feels like Pritchard trusts himself, Brown trusts himself. Exactly. And when it comes to everybody else, it's like, oh, this is my responsibility. Pritchard and Brown are going, well, this is my responsibility. It's not up to anybody else. And that's kind of disrupting the flow of things a little bit.
And that's where I'm coming off of how they look like the Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant's going to go out there, play his game. Kyrie Irving was going to go out there, play his game, put up 30-30. And it's like
the difference is those guys are all NBA best scorers of all time.
Like I would
Pritchard and Brown
to be honest, the Brooklyn Nets did work together in some facet. I mean, they were a good team.
Yeah, but it's hard. But we can't have those players go out there and try to play their own game. Like there are so many times where they're not trusting one another and they're like, all right, I'm going to go up there and because I trust myself making this shot.
To be honest, they're not good enough for that.
They're not.
They're not good enough for that.
That's where not having Tatum is such a punch in the gut. And we're experiencing this firsthand because it's like, and I don't know if you guys already mentioned it, but one point I want to highlight is when he went out there and tried coaching the team himself. And that's just a leader mentality. And that's where Jaylen Brown needs to step up and be that leader, or Derek White. I feel like Jason Tatum was the voice on the team and someone else needs to do that because kudos to Jason Tatum. And when he comes back, it's going to be great. But like his voice is still heavily active. I mean, he went up there and talked to the ref, and it's like that's where the punch in the gut happens because he's so highly involved in the Celtics team still. And I know it pains him not to be out there, and it pains him to see this final score because, this was in a sense trying to be the get back game for what happened in a sense, but just rough night, rough. We need to establish an identity, and it's not happening anytime soon. It's not.
Yeah.
I want to continue with the Pritchard and Brown conversation because I think it's important. I think Pritchard, particularly, off game, obviously, like 1 for 7. That's not Peyton Pritchard esque. But my feeling is, and my concern is, it's like Pritchard is now going to be more of a focal point for defenses, right? Like he's a starter. They're going to put a little more emphasis on on controlling him, on defending him. I mean, McBride was giving him a lot of hell on defense. I mean, he was really making his life hard, right? And so when you think about the amount of just bodies thrown at Pritchard, it's it's harder for him to be efficient. It's harder for him to be the exact player that he was coming off the bench. I mean, I just think the level of efficiency from Pritchard is going to be a lot harder because 35 minutes for me just doesn't seem like he has that ability to be consistent throughout the entire time. And something that's concerning to me too is like you shoot 1 for 7. What else are you bringing to the table when you shoot 1 from 7? Because if Pritchard's not hitting his shots, he's not scoring. Defensively, he's not as much of a he's a bit of a liability, and then offensively, his ability to like tack the rim and get into the paint and kind of create his shot there. It's not ideal. It's not so it's hard to get out of a slump for him. It's hard to really make an impact on the offensive end if he's not hitting his shots. And now he's going to be a lot more heavily contested. He's going to be dogged on a lot more. And playing 35 minutes, there's a chance his 3-point totals kind of go down because his legs are going to be tired under him. How can you perform late game situations? I just there's a lot of variables that are kind of impacting Pritchard that we might start seeing as the season continues and as his role stays this way.
I think the gravity of Jason Tatum is showing right now on this team because we're asking guys who are really used to playing off ball and being the beneficiaries of Tatum's, I mean, tremendous playmaking and tremendous scoring as well. I mean, both of those skills for Jason Tatum, playmaking and scoring, they were beneficiaries of Jason Tatum's ability. And not only Jason Tatum's ability, I mean, look at the entire juggernaut squad he had behind him, right? I mean, when you have all those guys in the mix the way the Celtics did the last 2 years, a lot of everybody on that team felt like, oh, I'm not at the center of attention. I'm just playing over here, and all of my opportunities are going to be open because everybody's so focused on Tatum. They're focused on Porzingis at the top of the key, down low in the paint as well. They're focused on those guys. Meanwhile, guys like Brown, guys like Derek White, Peyton Pritchard specifically, right? They're all playing off ball. Now they're asked to do the things in which guys like Porzingis, guys like Tatum were doing before, and more so Tatum than anything else. I mean, Porzingis was just a luxury at center, the way he could stretch the floor. But those guys are being asked to do the same things, and they're just not quite equipped with the same ability. And they're playing outside of their roles. I mean, really,
Also,
they are.
Also, guys that may have guarded Tatum are now guarding Brown or Pritchard, right?
Right.
So
They're getting the best assignments.
Brown was used to playing maybe like the secondary guy on the Knicks, like maybe their second best defender, and Pritchard their third, fourth. Like now teams are game planning to stop Brown less so than Tatum. And you have to, when Tatum's on the floor, game plan more towards Tatum because he's going to dictate the offense. He's going to control the game. A guy like Brown, maybe less so. Like it's more one-on-one matchups. But what I'm trying to say though is like their assignments are different. And now Brown is getting the best defender every day, every game, and that's something that he hasn't had to deal with in a while.
And do you guys worry a little bit about the morale of this team? I mean, we saw a moment there late in the game where Derek White flies in for the rebound on the putback attempt on the free throw, and that would have made it a pretty close margin within the game. And unfortunately, Derek White, the tip just falls out of the rim. I mean, it was literally a 50-50 ball that just went, and it falls out of the rim. And Derek White, you could see him at midcourt. He's just going, oh, man. Like, it just, you could tell it was the surmounted failures of the night
For sure.
Well,
flowing through Derek White in that moment, right? It wasn't just that missed tip. It was, I just missed that tip. I believe he shot 5 of 18 tonight. Let me confirm that. But he shot 5 of 18, right? 5 of 18, 3 of 11 from 3. The Celtics, they were down 20 most of the night. It just felt like all of that emotion was coming out in that particular moment when he failed to make it a closer margin. I look at that moment, and clearly that's a moment of morale going the wrong way for the Celtics. But could this be a concern for the team this season, period? Because we're talking about, the team may be getting better, but if they're not actually getting better on court, where's the motivation behind the squad? Where's the morale? Is there going to be a morale problem this season?
Well, I just want to say this too. I believe this is an issue where, when we were facing the Knicks last year, every night we went into a game that we're either going to crush them or we're going to be in the driver's seat majority of the game. We were battling back from behind at halftime throughout the rest of the game. And, we didn't get blown out by any sort, but I think it's really a low morale, the fact that we were sitting in the back seat and we were looking in the review mirror as the Knicks just dominated us. And
I mean, I agree, but I will say though, we did come from behind a lot of games during the playoffs. I mean,
we did,
we
but I feel like it's finally sitting in with Derek White and Jaylen Brown that we are not going to be that team, because we've been that team for the last few years, and now it's kind of finally.
You think it takes 2 games, Griffin? You think it takes 2 games
because
where they just go,
but the thing is, like, it could, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
like, you could mentally, like you could be, like, who knows how these guys are mentally,
because
I think, like, you could be, like, because sometimes, like, it's like you have a fear, right? But you stress yourself so much that you bring that fear closer, and actually, like, make it into reality. You know what I mean? It's like, is it in the back of their mind every night? Like, man, are we good enough? Like, or is this season gonna be really tough? Like there could be that, in the back of their mind, that mindset, and in every mistake, every detail could be magnified. It could feel more like, oh, this mistake has so much more importance in the grand scheme of things. Like that could be it. I could see that. But I also want to say too, like, seeing Derek White of all people kind of get frustrated, that's something that scared me, because Derek White's that guy that's more so even keeled.
Right.
He's the one that
even
brings them
keeled
up,
or usually uplifted, right?
or
He's usually more
uplifted.
positive.
He's smiling out there with his jagged tooth, like he's enjoying the game. And so to see Derek White really frustrated, and not to say he doesn't show frustration, like every player does, but Derek White's the last person you want to see show frustration.
And that's just like, for example, like you just mentioned it. Like, I remember when we were in the rough stretch last year, when Derek White went on TikTok and made a funny video and made us all laugh and cheer up when times were hard. But, I think even after, and this might be way too early to say it, like you said, though, Seamus, but I think after that hard loss to Philadelphia, the team comes back. They have a good first quarter. They look like, all right, we probably be competitive. And then the wheels just fell off the bus and they just got sloppy. And you could just tell that it's not the same team we're seeing in the past. It's not, because my spirits were very high in that first quarter, like very, very high. And then it just fell off, like, completely. Like, it just looked like a train wreck. And I hate to say that. And I hope when we face Detroit and we face the Pelicans, things kind of hopefully start to progressively get better and build chemistry. But as of right now, I don't see any answers 2 games in. But again, 2 games in. So it's not something to be like, we still have 80 games left. So it's a long road still. It's still a long road.
Well, that's where the morale piece starts to creep in, right? Because now we're now into the season, right? We're 2 games into the season. Doesn't feel like we're very deep into the season, but we've entered the water, right? We've entered the water. We're now swimming in the season. Make the analogy. It's like the off season, you're on land, and then the preseason, now you dip your foot into the water a little bit. The regular season, you're now swimming. 2 results so far. 2 games into the season. Doesn't feel like we're very deep into the season, but we've entered the water, right? We've entered the water. We're now swimming in the season. We're on land, and then the preseason, now you dip your foot into the water a little bit. The regular season, you're now swimming. the Celtics, the thing that kills me about both of these games and must kill them as well, and this is where the morale takes a real beating. The Celtics could have won both of these games. Okay, and that sounds ridiculous for this game right here, but look at 3 of the 4 quarters. The Celtics won the first quarter. The Celtics won the third quarter. The Celtics won the fourth quarter. Where was the rope let go? It was that second quarter. It was 42-14 in the second quarter. And Griffin, you alluded to it a little bit there. The first quarter, we're out here going, the Celtics, looks like the Knicks. The Knicks the other night, they had problems with the Cavs. Are the Knicks that good? Right? Through the first 12 minutes, the Celtics were up by 8. That second quarter was brutal for the Celtics. Absolutely brutal. And it's what really killed the game for the Celtics, as I kick my camera stand here. But as I do it again. But that's what killed the game for the Celtics. And this game is obviously not the same because the Sixers game, the Celtics owned a 10-point lead late in the fourth quarter. Anytime you own a 10-point lead at home late in the fourth quarter against your rival, you should pull out that game. The Celtics did not. Tonight, the Celtics can't say the same thing because they were trying to come back late in the game. But this is another game where if you don't let the rope slide from your hand there in that second quarter, the Celtics even keep it marginal, right? Because I think about that. It was a 28-point margin in the second quarter. If it was a maybe 15-point margin, the Celtics would have actually won this game. Like those are the, you think, oh, a team got blown out. But it's really one quarter where the team, the Celtics specifically tonight, they allow a 28-point deficit for themselves, or a 28-point margin in that quarter. Again, if it's 15, Celtics win this game by 3. And that's a 15-point, that's a bad the 15-point margin is a bad quarter. 28 is just egregious. 28 is egregious. But that's also, it goes into the conversation and the morale. Because this team this year, say they come out with a good first quarter, right? The second quarter, that's where the entire game really slipped away. The Celtics fought their way back in this game. But if games continuously slip out of their hands early, right? That's where the morale could come into play for the Celtics, where they keep going, all right, we play great at the beginning of games, but it's not sustainable, right? It's not sustainable. And I think a point too is Joe Mazzulla doesn't have the lineups figured out whatsoever yet. I mean, when you see a complete 5-man lineup change at the first whistle, essentially, it was the first whistle, it was the first substitution. 5:28 left in the first quarter. All 5 guys off the court, all 5 starters off the court, all 5 bench players playing. That is not to me, that is definitely not a sustainable rotation to run, or ultimately the way in which Joe is maneuvering and strategizing those rotations. Can't just pull all 5 guys. And that was a theme in game 1 as well against the Sixers. It was, how is anybody supposed to gain a rhythm on the floor if they're not in the game consistently, right? You have, Brown's playing 5 minutes here, then he's getting pulled, then he's getting put back in, and then this guy, everybody was just in and out of the game the other night against the Sixers.
You just don't know what to expect. There's no routine. There's no comfortability within what you're doing. So it's you're a little more on edge. And I not to interrupt you, Seamus, but I want to kind of hammer in on this. And I actually said this in my 3 keys to success. In the field, our field goal percentage in the second half, 22% from the field, and 25% from the 3-point line. It's you miss your shots, right? But you can't let that impact you letting the Knicks score 42 points, right? You miss your shots, but let's dig in even harder on the defensive end and not let the Knicks and not let your missed shots dictate your offense. I mean, your defense, right?
Yeah, 42 to
the
14
energy can't slip. It just can't slip. The consistency of your energy needed to be a little better. And just because you're missing shots doesn't mean that you can let up 42 points. I mean, that's unacceptable.
Yeah, I was going to say 42 to 14. I mean, that's about as simple of a stat as you can get. 42 points for the Knicks, 14 for the Celtics, and it shows you both ends. You give up 42 points, not quite historic, but I mean, they're about the Knicks at that point in time. They're about 10 points away from being pretty historic. You start putting up 50 points in a quarter, but then you look on the other end, 14 points. That's definitely not going to do it in any corner. So it's both ends of the court for the Celtics. They just weren't hitting home at tonight. However, if there were to be a silver lining that we could take out of this game for the season, what would it be tonight? We're talking about a lot of negativity, as we should right now, because that's what's going on.
Right.
The Celtics 0-2, not satisfied with the 0-2. But if there were to be a silver lining one could take out of this game, what would it be?
I think it's the fact that we're young and we're going to get better. I mean, you saw guys like, all right, a quick question. Is it Ugo or Hugo?
We've been over this a million times. I mean, it's Ugo, but come on. If he really makes it in the NBA, it's going to be Hugo.
All right,
Yeah.
so
Come on. If he is really like, wow, this man is a legit NBA player and other teams want him, fan bases are going to be calling him Hugo, 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 and then it's just going to be like, well, you can't defeat it. But Ugo, Hugo,
Like we said, it's like
technically
it's like
Ugo,
Bijan
but
Robinson.
it's one of those both.
so
On this broadcast, at the very least, we will accept both. I don't know
All right.
about Gonzalez himself.
I'll
Gonzalez.
It's like Bijan
HG.
Robinson. It's really supposed to be Bijan, but come on. I mean, come on. I'm sorry, Bijan. See, I just did it.
Bijan.
I'll just go Ugo. So
Yeah.
Ugo Gonzalez, I mean, the one thing that I take away from his performance tonight is this is a guy who I don't know what his ceiling can be, because again, who knows what it can be, but he's off to a pretty darn good start. And I have to say this, and Andrew and I were having this conversation on episode 73 of Celtics Nation Rise. Check that out. But we were having the conversation, will this guy end up in Maine? And after tonight, I don't think he's going anywhere near Maine. And this is a guy who I believe, with the young core that we have in Boston, we can really build something for the time that when Tatum comes back. And I know I've been saying this all off season, but this really shows in the past 2 games that Joe Mazzulla is going to experiment with lineups. He's going to put his young guys out there. He's going to put guys out there and get them experience, like Hugo Gonzalez, like Josh Minott, who did not play tonight, like Luka Garza, again, did not play tonight. But there's guys that are going to play. And Joe Mazzulla is going to play those guys and going to try to develop them. So when Jason Tatum does come back, this team could potentially be a competitor once again. Obviously, you need to build pieces around it. However, I'm very confident in what we can build. And I'm very confident in this retooling and getting players developing time and getting them used to it, because you're not going to have to send these guys to the G League. You're going to give them development right in the Boston organization, right here up on the big stage. And, that could be good for some guys, because you might not get the exact same pressure that you're going to get in the G League opposed to the NBA. It's just what it is. So I look at our future, and our future is going to be brighter. And I look at guys like Hugo Gonzalez and say, hey, this is a guy who could develop into a pretty darn good player. But there also is some negatives, But I look at that, and I'm very happy on the development process. But what are your guys' thoughts?
I don't know. I have a question just based off of what you're saying, and I think it's not crazy to say. Like, is there a chance that, because the media has really pushed this narrative of when Tatum gets back, oh, the Celtics will be good when Tatum gets back. Is that in the locker room? Like, is there a chance that these guys on the Celtics are like, man, we'll be good when Tatum comes back. We'll be good here. We'll be good there. It's like they're waiting on like a savior in Tatum, and then that's just good. It's like you wait on Tatum. It's like,
well, I don't.
If you're waiting on Tatum, you got to do everything in your power to actually be at a spot where Tatum even matters. You know what I mean? In some aspects.
And that's the point where that's why I look at it and say, I don't think you even play him till next year, because I think this is the year where you really develop your team and become a good team for when he comes back next year. That's why I hate the fact that people saying he needs to come back this year, because I feel if you could get development going, and you shouldn't have to rush anything with his injury. You shouldn't have to rush anything with the team. You should get the team comfortable and get them all acclimated. And, obviously they're not going to be used to playing with Jason Tatum, But that's going to be something that can be an easy adjustment because you're going to have guys like Derek White and Jaylen Brown and Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, and even Baylor Shireman, who's played with him in the past. So you're still going to have a handful of guys, and they're going to nudge each other and be like, hey, you slack off and stuff like that. And that's where I think development can come in. But
for sure. No, I agree.
Until next year. It's
almost like it. Oh, my bad.
No, keep going.
It's almost like you got a hand right now. Use your hand. You know what I mean? Put faith in this team. Put faith in the guys that are on the court. And sometimes I think maybe there's this like asterisk on this team, like, hey, they'll be good when Tatum gets back. And I think that's a confidence killer.
I think that's more media created though than actually in the locker
room.
For
sure. No, I agree. And Joe Mazzulla probably keeps it probably very
right, because I think Joe Mazzulla and even the team knows this is our team. Right. This is how we're trying to win. We're not trying to win on the basis of Tatum's going to be here. Tatum's not going to be here. Right. Sure. Well, actually, right now, on the basis of Tatum is not going to be here. But that is exactly where I think their mindset is Tatum is not here right now, and we're trying to put up the best results as humanly possible with him off the floor. Because a lot of guys have a lot of stakes with Tatum out, right?
True.
Richard, Brown, I mean, this is the moment to prove that you're more than just a complimentary player to better stars, right? I mean, it could be a moment where we're going, wow, we have 2 Tatums on the roster. Yeah. Is that bearing itself out to right now? Definitely not. Yeah. But these guys have major stakes, and even him being off the court. So I can't even, I don't want to say, I'll say this. The guys are definitely not thinking, oh, if we could just get Tatum back, we'd be a lot better. I mean, no, they're going to try to figure this out themselves.
And they're also in the they're in the trenches, right? They're in the moment. They're in the present. It's like, man, we can't be looking like they're not looking for Tatum. They want to prove it to themselves that they're capable, in that aspect. So I agree.
And can I
when you're on the battlefield, real quick, Griffin, when you're on the battlefield, you're not going, oh, those guys are the infantry.
Man, what's going on? Right.
Is the injured infantry coming behind us?
Yeah, you're focused on
battle. Definitely not
on the guy right in front of you.
He has gauze all over.
Pointing a barrel down you, pointing the laser in the melee forward, as Joe Mazzulla would say.
Can I just mention another thing that is a winning mentality and what's so much more positive? I just saw something about Hugo Gonzalez where he said, talking about the good memory of playing today, being his first day playing, and he said, it's not a good memory because we didn't win. And that just shows that in the locker room, with or without Tatum, the team still wants to win. The team wants to be competitive. Yeah. You could see it firsthand. They're clearly frustrated about losing to this Knicks team, and they're clearly upset about this. So that shows, and that kind of sparks a little more confidence in me because it shows that they want to win. They want to be competitive,
for sure,
and they're going to be. It just takes time. It's not one thing where they were pretty bad in that Sixers game, blowing that win, blowing that loss that they had, but and you can't change that overnight. That takes time again to develop a team and get the chemistry going. And I don't want to talk about that too much because I've been saying that all the time, but we can't just fast forward from Wednesday to Friday and the team's fixed. No, this takes time.
Yeah. And to answer your question from where we originally started, Seamus, like the positives of this experience and what the Celtics have shown, like there was stretches where like they were playing team defense, where there's energy. There feels like there's a level of confidence in themselves where they're getting stops, and I think that, and they also work hard. Like I think this team, whether or not they have the principles down, whether or not they're playing team defense, I think they do still have a collective spirit of working hard. Like they're hard-nosed basketball players that day in and day out are gonna go tooth and nail to get a win, and that's something to have confidence in, because if you maybe do fix up a couple things from from schemes and figure out the lineup and figure out the identity of this team, I think that hard work, that intensity, that drive on the court is going to be amplified even more and really utilized to winning games for us in the future.
And speaking of winning games, the Boston Celtics on Sunday will be trying to pick up their first win of the season against the Detroit Pistons. That game will be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday at Detroit. The Boston Celtics travel to Michigan to try and get their first win of the season. But looking ahead to that game, after the first two games here tonight, and of course Wednesday against the Philadelphia 76ers, what do the Celtics need to do on Sunday in order to actually secure their first win of the season?
Well,
just say knock down shots, like to be honest, like hit their threes, but in doing that, take high percentage threes. I mean, take good shots, move the ball, be unselfish, and just really get good high percentage shots that we can have confidence in. And then I also just think it's again defense. It's again working as hard as possible, but also working together and having faith and trust in one another. And right now, that's all you can kind of focus on. Like at this point of the season, you have to lean on that, right? You have to just say, man, we're going to lean on high level of defensive intensity, high level of pressure, transition buckets, getting easy shots, attacking the rim, applying pressure. Like you have to rely on those things that you have right now. So what I'm saying is, for the Celtics to win it against the Pistons, it's use the tools in the art. Use your weapons in your arsenal. Don't try to do anything extra. Just do what you do best right now in this present moment.
Well, Andrew, you killed it with that, because I don't have much better to say, but I'm going to say one thing, and because I've been stressing it all night, and I'm going to say two words, and I'm only going to need this, is play together. Play together as a team. Don't individualize it. Don't make it about Jaylen Brown. Don't make it about Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Anthony Simons. Play together as one cohesive, however you say that word. Cohesive unit. Play together. Don't play, I'm going to go up for 30. Don't play, I'm going to trust myself and let myself play. Play as a team. That's all I got to say. If they go out there and play team basketball, you're going to see a win. After you guys are going to come here and we're going to have smiling, happy faces, because
everybody watching right now, you're going to see a win. We appreciate you too as well.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah. And there's going to be smiling faces, and there's going to be smiling faces in that locker room if they play together. That's all I got to say. That's all that needs to happen. There's stuff they can improve on, but if they play together, I swear we will see a team win. If they play together, we're gonna see a win. We're gonna see a win. That's all it is.
Yeah, on Sunday, what I want to see out of the C's is can we continuously define the hierarchical structure within the rotation? Because say tonight, right? No Luka Garza, no Josh Minot, which is a little surprising considering we thought those were two guys who were going to come in on minimum contracts from the Minnesota Timberwolves and really make their way into the rotation. Well, during the preseason they did, during the first game of the season they did, and then the second game, DNPCD, sit down on the bench. So that was a little shocking tonight. But then furthermore, you have the other end of the shocking factor for the Celtics. Hugo Gonzalez played 22 minutes. So there you see the rotations aren't quite defined, right? You have two guys we thought are going to be in the rotation. They play a lot in game one. They don't play at all in game two. And then Gonzalez, we're going, in game one, he didn't play too much. He's probably going to be up in Maine, yada, yada. Game two, he plays 22 minutes. So the hierarchical structure, certainly not there. I want to see more of that develop on Sunday with the C's. I want to see them turn the ball over less transition opportunities for the Pistons. And the Pistons, I'll say this, they are a closer team to the Celtics than people really want to put them, right? A lot of people are anointing the Pistons after what they did last season, but I'm on the train of maybe the Pistons aren't quite as good as people think they are. They might be a little closer to the Celtics, but the Celtics, they'll get a chance to show that on Sunday against the Detroit Pistons when they travel to Detroit, Michigan to play at the Little Caesars Arena on Sunday. So the Celtics playing another road game, not coming back to the Garden quite yet, but the Celtics They will be playing on Sunday at Detroit, and we, of course, will have you guys covered here on the CTW Postgame Show. That is going to do it for us here tonight, folks. For me, your host, Seamus Zarlingo, alongside Andrew Quinn and Griffin Aldrich. Everyone, thank you all for watching, and do not forget to subscribe to the Celtics Talk Weekly YouTube channel, the Celtics Talk Weekly Instagram page, along with the Celtics Nation Rise YouTube channel and Instagram page. Also, let's just throw this out there, Celtics.everyday. We got Celtics Rising on Instagram, AJQ Photos, AJQ Media, all of those. Okay, everybody go hit them up. Those are the plugs, folks. We got to rewind it, go hit them all up. But that's going to do it for us here tonight on the CTW Postgame Show. Of course, as I always say, thank you all for watching. Go Celtics.